First, Sheela Jaywant is a Goa-based humor columnist, short fiction writer, and translator. Her stories have been featured in anthologies such as Quilted, Stories of Middle-Class India, Melting Moments, and The Liftman, and other stories. In 2019, she received the Palladium India Best in Print Media Award. Welcome, Sheela. Next, we have Sohani Almeida Coutinho, who is a multifaceted professional based in India, recognized for her contributions as a senior business analyst and iteration manager at ThoughtWorks. Beyond her corporate role, she is an accomplished writer and poet. Her debut poetry collection, Heartbeats and Handprints, was published in June 2024. Welcome. And we have Enes Cevik, please pardon my pronunciation, sir, who's a Turkish-German writer and poet who shares her work on Medium, describing herself as soaked in words. She writes about life and its corners, expressing her thoughts through poetry and prose. Welcome all three, over to you.
The session before this was about rulers, and we come down to the ruled. And I'm just hoping that the people who've gone out for a moment will return, but we will start on time because otherwise everything else gets delayed. How we will run this session is that each of us has something to read, and we will read one poem each, or as in her case, it is an extract from a novel which is in poetry or in verse. And then the second round, again, we will read something of our own, and then we will be open to questions. So we start first with you. I think a sentence or two of self-introduction would help.
No, I think it works. Everyone hears me. Hi. So I'm Enes. I'm a writer from Berlin. I'm born and raised in Berlin, Germany. My parents are Turkish. I've been back in the days in my old life an engineer. Then I went into IT, and then I just decided to move to my actual passion and do writing. I also do acting, and I'm painting. So everything that is kind of creative and expresses your soul is something I'm like intrigued to do for my third life now, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Sohani. I work as a consultant during the day, business analyst at a IT firm called ThoughtWorks. And I have been writing throughout. It mostly helps me deal with life, make sense of it all. And if I'm in a good mood, it rhymes too, I've noticed. So I compiled a book. It started off as a writing challenge. It's called Heartbeats and Handprints. It's available on the online platforms to purchase. I'll be reading a few from the book and then few which I've written a little later as well. Yeah.
Strange that all of us have different backgrounds. She's an engineer, she's a business analyst. I trained as a microbiologist, but I cannot focus a microscope. For long years, I worked as an administrator in a hotel and then in a hospital, and presently in an educational institution. This is my book of poems in English as it's spoken in India. And I will be reading out, I'm a humor columnist, yes, but I write on very mundane affairs, nothing to do with love and emotion and memories and nostalgia, nothing of that. I just write about what happens in my day-to-day life. So we start off with her reading, then hers, then mine, and we repeat the circle.
I'm also gonna put a track that has been produced by a friend of mine for this specific novel, so let me know if that is audible, if you can hear or not. Okay. Does that work? Maybe I'll put it a little closer, because I don't want it to over-dominate. Does that work?
Would you like a second mic?
Yeah.
Second mic.
Yeah, I can give you a second mic if that's better.
Okay. Okay. 1 second. We got this. Okay. Are you comfortable? Should I hold? Yeah? Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I'm reading from Work in Progress. I call it a poetic novel, and it's about a woman it's kind of a sort of coming of age story, And it's about a woman who's kind of dealing in separate sequences, a little bit like bringing the protagonist in the climax several times instead of like once, how it is usually done in a drama. But yeah, so she's dealing with her mom abandoning her when she was a child, and she's spiraling around that thought in every relationship she's kind of going into. So the chapter is called In Your Silence. In your silence. We're here again, he said, a deep sigh so loud as his head falls into his collarbones lowered. Haze rises from his skin, swirling around him, drowning my gaze, while the time stood still. As we just stood there, across from each other and facing yet not facing one another, our bodies apart, mere inches, me and him, in the moment, alone, together, and in between, lost in silence. I open my mouth, trying to speak. My voice is flat, the tones have faded, as nothingness floats into the atmosphere surrounding us. A shell of words in the mist, a chasm spots between our breaths. And I long, I reach, I look at him. I see his hairline blank, and we are just standing there astray. Trapped in history, caught in sequences running from the passing of time. But we remain just there, bewildered under the fig tree at the entrance to our favorite cafe. While diving into moments, passing by, shifting, holding the beginning of a story, our story. This is where we belonged, where we encountered, our eyes crossed. This is here where I heard your voice, watched you smile, that moment there when we first met. And look at us now, displayed in the timeline, our reality, our dreams, shattering into pieces of clay. It always ends there where it begins, I say, and so it seems. And a fretful smile stretches over my face. I look at him, but he still appears absent. His silence so deep, no shape, no movement, no voice. And so I become silent too, out of scarcity, out of fear, in embarrassment, devastated. And now it seems that this is the end, right by the beginning. Me and him, when we stopped thinking, breathing, our colors had faded into a black and white still life on a splintered canvas. My senses numbed. The air was thinning in my lungs. I'm drowning. I reach out. Please, will you help me? And just then, his head tilts slightly, moving up and down, a glimpse, my heart a beat, but without catching my side. He stared back at the ground.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'll move on and I'll speak about Asolna. It is the place I'm from. It's where I grew up, my village.
Then where is it?
It is in the south, in Salsette. Yeah. A place like no other, Oslena is what we call her. A hidden gem of the south side, situated on the Sal riverside. Nature comes to life in its true essence. The birds chirping, coconut trees, curvy roads, and a lot of breeze. Summer allows the best sunsets, and winter has the best weather. The rain gods steal the thunder. Everything is greener and better. The grand entry over one bridge and the majestic sunset over the other. The medieval church and the Christre with their beautiful architecture. It's where I studied numbers and letters, and I learnt worldly matters. It's where I could play Coco and run after the chicks and pigos. It's where family is extended and community is strong. The people decide right from wrong. It's where I always return from school, a vacation, or a life decision, for a tradition or a celebration. It is a land of opportunity once I return from the city. A calling of belonging, a letter from my ancestors, an email to my descendants. It's what I chose, where I have grown, and all I've ever known. My village, my home.
I didn't know you were a fellow Sashtikar. Okay, my poem is on the cyclone which happened in the year 2021. The wild wind threatened, all were warned over radio and TV of the red alert, prepare for nature's fury. They gave the cyclone a name, its route, its speed. When it came, it struck hard and fast. For 2 nights, we had no lights. No blue lamps above the streets, no bulbs bright and yellow, no red or green dots on the fridge or the micro, no LEDs, no neon lights. So terribly dark were those 2 nights. No hoardings were lit, no e-gadgets glowed, technology to nature bowed. No traffic signals, no headlights of cars, no reflections on panes, no moon, no stars, no wicks, no candles, no matches to burn. After day 1, things for worse took a turn. No flickering, no glimmering, no shining, no twinkling, no torchlight, no spark, fierce night, so dark. I moved in thick blackness, cautious and slow, groped corner, touched tap, on occasion stubbed toe. My pupils adjusted, I began to feel my way around the furniture. It's no big deal when the walls and the windows are strong, and you know it will be long before you run out of biscuits and bread, nuts and dates that will keep you fed. Rainwater in buckets used for washing, drinking. I know that my city and state were flooding, sinking. No matter how clever or advanced be mankind, a strong storm can technology unwind. Flooded fields mean loss, a decay of crops. Urban life as we know it just stops. Gutters are choked, in trouble healthcare, crucial services stretched, act of God, nightmare. So, back to the basics, we rapidly go when the winds of a cyclone in our way flow.
Okay, the next chapter is called In Between Eclipses. A word, a voice, his timbre, and louder, okay. In between eclipses, better. In between eclipses, a word, a voice, his timbre, a noise. My eyes are closed, but I hear him speaking. His vibration is walking through me, but I cannot listen, can't grasp. What are you saying? I ask, I say, or at least I hope I can speak, but I don't, I can't be, I think, because he is not moving, not looking, no reaction. What is it, what I want to shake in me, and so I lift my head, and in slow sequences I try to face him, look at him, look in his eyes, oh his eyes, those sweet shades of honey, but I can't force him, he still won't look at me, won't see me, and I turn my head while the mass is remaining stagnant still. It's staying, and so are we, stuck in a motionless picture. As we rip apart this night tonight, we rip apart when he stormed out of the door. But this time, only this little time, I wanted him to stay, to be near, but I couldn't bear the urge, a bliss that changed my death. And yet I did love him, wanted to be with him, wanted to go back into his arms, his breath. And I thought for a splint of a second, I thought that she could have loved me without leaving me. She, my mother, here with me. Mother, why are you here? Black, a hole, white. It's stinging, her presence floating through the void, and seconds and minutes, hours and years, in sequences so dark, so deep, so feared. Thoughts thrusting in my face, cut deep, cut out the fields and shapes. My head is spinning, myself is thinning, grinding pillars tearing from their pedestals, shooting up the air, a bang so loud, crashing down, and in front of the ruins of my life, in front and in between of it all, I've lost the ground under my feet. I was floating through the mantle, throughout the outer core, no magnetic field to hold me and keep me safe. And in all those years I had believed something, I had believed everything, while my life dissolved, chipping, glowing, holding splinters, while I reached out for them to hold, but with disregard they shot through my skin and shattered my tendons, my shape, myself. And the answers I sought, indecisive, unproven, missing the mark, the truth I had followed, tight, heavy, unsupported, the reasons I searched for, dissolved in a brick wall denying me. And all my life I have searched for her.
Okay, so the next one is Heartful Mind. You intelligent little demon. Your smart brain gets you through it all. But there's a boundary to your view. Your mind can only fathom what it thinks is possible to do. And that's just very little, far from the infinite potential. You count 2 plus 2. It equals only 4. You wish it was more. The heart knows a little more. Consult it and let it flow. It is more powerful than you know. It is from where your original energy flows. It needs courage, though, to have an unseen vision and see it to fruition. Put your heart and mind in alignment. If the heart gives a direction, can the mind be obedient? Wouldn't you like magic to be dominant? The mind could only think of a destination, but the heart will guide you to joy in every moment, location, and situation.
This is based on an accident that had taken place where an industrialist's son had mowed down a woman. It was a fatal accident, and that scooter had been rented by that couple. The title is My Toy. I'm almost 21 years old, already successful, so I'm told, by FB and Twitter and platforms that matter, by those around me, by the channels on TV. I enjoy things that money can buy, be it yacht, plane or car, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Porsche or Jaguar. Aji, Azoba and Ma buy me the finest, always. Don't settle for anything lesser is what Papa says. The other day, the idiot driver let me snatch the keys from him when I'd had a drink of 5 with my buddies. What a smooth drive it was, along the sea, at Worli, until that fellow and his wife suddenly came in my way on a scooter. I didn't see them. At their speed, they banged into me. My precious, my car has been scratched, even dented. That scooter, that garbage I'm told was rented. Inconveniently, irresponsibly, that woman, the wife of the two-wheeler driver, gave up her life. Papa phoned the CM, who then phoned the cops and told them it definitely was not my fault. Fetch that bar owner, catch his staff, put a lock, this very minute get their business to halt. The boy is not yet 21. I want that owner's head. It is they who must pay for this accident, he said. Papa, he told his PR team to deal with all and sundry. Pay them, buy them, kill them, whoever, however, just deal with them, said he. And the idiot driver who gave me the keys, I will bring him to his knees.
Okay. I'm going to read a very short last chapter. So this is it, where I belong, a comfort in the darkness, no light, no sky. I have no past, and without the past I have no future. Hello, mother, it's me, your daughter. But there was no motion, she had erased me, simply erased me, taking me from myself, where I had never already existed. Me and my life, far from myself, weightlessly I float outside my reality. A reality that no longer welcomed me. I'm floating in a bleak orbit, transcending, without a power source to pull me back, to pull me out, to guide me in a predetermined direction. And as I was floating in this serene nothingness, I didn't know who I was, who she was, who I wanted to be. I didn't know, and I opened my eyes in letters red. Blinded and lost, tranquility it says, and just this little time there, I feel beauty. For hours now I've been driving through the streets, the woods, the hills, landscapes passing into each other, coloring the vista, a scene after the other. There, I'm here, and then right there, in the middle of the meadow, I saw her, a tree, serene love so sincere, waving me to come by, and so I had to. I pulled over on the side of the street and stopped the engine. I got out of the car, I looked to all directions. No trees, but this one there was her. So I made my way over there, one step after the other. I was floating over the soil, over the stones, the streets, and the thickets. Closer, coming closer, and there she was standing in all her glory, with open arms, inviting while I was arriving. And while I was walking, the sun shone brightly, clearly in my face. I closed my eyes, soaked up the rays, so warm, I felt the warmth. Soft and clear, I could feel the light passing through me. I could feel the air shifting inside me. I could feel, for the first time, just feel. And I felt it all so severe. I could feel the presence, I could feel the world. I felt life and love, and then that there, I realized that I had arrived, decided clear. I had to stay near just by you, I had to stay here. And while I lay myself into your earth, I clung to you. My giants dislocated don't belong to me. I'm yours, you're mine. While everything around me starts spinning, the ground, the trees, the sunlight, everything blurred into a romantic painting of my life. The painting, a painting at the end of my time. And then just there it was, while I was swinging in the fractions of chaotic disorder, of sparkles in the light and through the calm of the darkness. In the final act of my calamity, it was there, lying in front of me puzzled. A face, her face, it always has been unconditionally, my mother there.
Okay. The next one's called Be You. Be you. If you're timid or shy, or if you're fly. Be you if you're Eastern or Western, Democratic or Republican. Be you if God exists or if she doesn't, if she's Catholic, Hindu or Zoroastrian. Be you if you're black, white or brown, if you're an analyst, doctor or farmer. Be you if you're single, married, a father or a caregiver. Be you when it's easy or hard, in the present or the past. Be you in your vision and mission, in your royal presence. Be you with the waiter, beggar, or the prime minister. Be you with the one who matters, or the 100 commentators. Be you at home or a different continent, now or later. Be you when you're happy and sure, but also when you fear. Be you because it's magical and sparkling, because it's a happy gut feeling. Be you because it keeps you glowing and anti-aging. Be you because it's easier and freer. Be you irrespective and always, it doesn't matter.
This one is an ode to ginger, and I think some of you would have heard this before, but I love this poem, so I'm going to read it. In Hindi, ginger is known as adrak. So this is a drug to flavor is sweet. When you use a drug to put in tea, you crush it or kiss it or cuss it. How you say it depends upon which part of the country you're from. A drug can be slivered to garnish chana with puri. A drug can be ground for chicken and curry. A drug is good for a throat that is sore. A drug is added to dishes for flavor. Have you thought of a drug in a sweet, where a drug mithai does meet? Take a drug that is 1 finger long and 2 fingers thick. Skin it, hack it, toss it in mixer with milk. 3 tablespoons grind to a very fine paste. Measure the mixture. Take 3 times that sugar. Remember, a drug has very strong taste. Cook the whole thing until it well cooks. When it hardens and changes its looks, grease a pan and upon it spread the above. Sprinkle elaichi nutmeg powder all over with love. When cool but still warm, in rhomboids cut it. It's good for digestion, say people who've tried it. A drug is good for the cough and the cold. A drug is good for the young and the old. A drug adds zing to many a thing. The best, if you ask me, and I can't tell you why, on a heavy monsoon day is a drug in your chai. Okay. We've finished 3 rounds of reading. If there are any questions, we would be happy to take them, each of us. And if you don't have any questions, I will start. Isabel?
Now, perhaps you could talk about the process of writing and the very different or the different kinds of words. I'm sure the way you write and the way you think is also when it can put you share some.
Yeah, okay. So again, we start with you, your process and how a poetic novel is at all written. Now the thing is, you would have to talk a little loudly and slowly because some of us have difficulty in following the accent. Okay, maybe some people might ask you to repeat.
So, a poetic novel is something I just came up with. So it's not really existing, but it's, so it is at the end, it's a novel, so it's a story and it has a storyline, but as the sequences and the parts are quite poetically written, I just call it a poetic novel. And just the process of writing, I don't know, I don't know how it's for everyone else, but it just, I think things that trigger you, whatever it is, it can be anything. So, for example, when you're in a different city, every city has a different energy, so you can kind of sense the energy, and that energy inspires you in a way to just write about what your brain is actually reacting to. And I think it's just like seizing out what senses you have, what you see, and also in the social interaction, like human. I always call myself a hobby observer. So when I go to a cafe, I watch people the whole time, and then I build my stories. And then while I write, I see those pictures, and obviously, as it's fiction, I'm just fast now. Okay, and obviously, as it's fiction, you just make them bigger because we're all human beings, and we want it to be a bit more dramatic. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. And I try to write daily because I feel like when you write daily, you get better and better. And sometimes, exactly because it's all about the practice, right? Sometimes when I read things, because I've been in such a reading flow, and then I know the next day I haven't been writing for a while, but then I read it and I'm like, did I really write this? I don't even remember, but you're in it, so your brain totally functions different.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So for me, like I agree with the part where she said things that trigger you. So either it's like, aha, oh, I saw something that I was like really amused by, and then I go back and start writing it. Or it could be like I'm confused about what to do in life. I need to make a decision probably, or maybe it could be just a disagreement that I had with somebody. Or something like that. So if there's something that has either stirred a strong emotion in me or has given me like a aha moment, I go and start dwelling on it with the pen and paper. And then I've realized as I write, I start getting further ideas. It starts branching out, and it's like, okay, I can do it like this way, that way. And then I just write down all those ideas to think about later, and then focus on the flow that I was going with initially. Yeah, that's how it works out for me. Yeah.
So,
As I said, my topics are very, very, very day to day, and I'm just telling you what they're about. A barber cutting one's hair. It's about a senior citizen's lockdown. Okay. Death on the table, individual needs, inoculation, fruit stall outside a hospital, coconut vadi, use of a sandwich toaster, meal in a sandwich. So I don't really have any high philosophies. That's just not me, and it's too late in life now. My IQ is also wavering a bit. But the process of writing, without practice, it doesn't come easily. And in order to write, you just have to read. There is just no substitute for reading. That's something I have learned. So at least in my own house, there is no use of television. We still depend on the printed word, but to each their own. Now, I will ask some. Yeah.
You like about Monday and you like, but what about scenes when you mix in time with your husband at work?
You want me to write on my husband?
He does some crazies, some good moments when you never expected something, or sometimes, his behavior, even behavior as such.
It's a good thing you're not from Goa. How many of you are from Goa? Please put your hands up. Okay. For 20 years, I wrote a column called Bhikna Bhajun Kha. And the protagonist was Shri Husband. And there are many people over here who know all the secrets that happened in my house because of what came out every Sunday morning. To that, my husband's response was, she goes on and on about nothing. So, yes, but maybe I'll take that up. Yeah.
I had a very quick question. I just wanted to know some poets that inspire all three of you, and maybe they've inspired your writing as well.
I haven't taken literature. I'm handing it over.
I also haven't taken literature, but so I do have poets that influence me, which would be like, there's a Turkish poet, his name is Nazım Hikmet, he's like the most famous Turkish poet you could know. Then there are in Germany, they're like Hermann Hesse, he is actually a writer, but he's also have been writing poems. Goethe, I'm really in love with all the writers from back in the days, because I feel like German now is not used in a nice way as it has been back in the days. But mostly what inspires me are not poets, but are writers. Like there's really great Norwegian writers like John Fosse or Nausgaard, who are like Nausgaard, for example, someone who's super sensitive. So while you read, you just like, you get goosebumps because you can actually tell how he realizes things, and you see them sometimes too, but he has a way to put it in words, and that is just, I don't know, I'm getting already shaken by thinking about the way he's writing. So then the big ones, Oscar Wilde, whatever, Büchner, yeah, all of them.
For me, it's a little reverse, I felt. So I was writing for a while, and after a while I started thinking about, okay, I should probably look at what good looks like in the world, and that's when I started reading, and that's how it works. But for me, inspiration comes, so it's like from people I follow. It doesn't have to be poets, but say supposing I look up to Eckhart, for example, right, a spiritual leader. I listen to him, and then I make what I have understood from it, right? And what makes sense in a situation in my life. So that's how I take the inspiration. It is not like a direct style. I want to keep my style as close to me as possible and not change it too much. But yeah, that's how I take the inspiration. Like gather, it could be in the form of video or life incidences or whatever. There is this Emily Dickinson award that my book got awarded by the publishers, the 21st Century Award, 21st Century Emily Dickinson Award. She's a poet from America. Her work got published after she passed away. And so after I got the award, I read her book. And yeah, he's one of those.
Yeah.
Please start.
Ma'am, my question is to all three of you. Since none of you belong to the arts stream or the literature, none of y'all have taken literature, and all of y'all have different professions. Do y'all think literature or arts is something that brings all of y'all together on one platform, and it is like an escape? Is it like an escape to you?
That we are on one platform.
No, writing poetry. Like writing poetry. Is it like an escape to you? Like, do you like sometimes get burdened with your daily life and write, and then you feel like you're in a different world? Is it something that poetry does to you?
Collecting stamps is an escape from the world. I mean, writing poetry I don't think anyone here really has writing poetry as a profession. Most of us write poetry after we've paid our bills. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think it's an escape, but let my colleague.
It's not an escape, but it's more cathartic, I will say. So if it's one day, something.
Can you hear me? Check, my check. I think, okay. So I think it's cathartic, for me at least. If there's something that doesn't make sense, I write about it, and the insight just comes in, and I realize what I really want to do. So, and then I go back into reality and do it. So, not really an escape.
Okay, so so you said art also specifically, not just writing, right? So I always said, I'm not the best painter, but I just paint because I always said, with painting, I'm freeing my soul, and with the writing, I'm defining it. So I feel like everyone who kind of wants to express can express it with art. You don't have to learn it, because usually when you see, obviously it's also the profession itself in art is also the technique. Everyone says it's 99% technique, 1% is talent, but I also feel it's a lot of just emotions, because when you see a painting, and maybe it's technical and not amazing, but it makes you feel something very deeply, then or when you have singers who sing a really great piece because you just feel it and you stood there and cry because it really touches you. You don't learn that, right? That's just how you express your emotions. But you also said, do you think art brings everyone together? And I say, yes, it does, because everyone can do art in its own way if you just want to express your emotions. And when you, for example, read books that are written like 100 years ago, they're so timeless because they're so valid about human interaction and social behavior today too. So it even brings together times, not only just people, but decades.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my question was to you. You said you were attempting or writing already a poetic novel. So these three things that you read are a part of, or a string of, or part of one book. So in some sense, one will have to read the novel to make sense out of them, although they may individually be making sense as such. And so that's one question. The other is it substantially autobiographical? And the third one is, you said that the poetic novel is new. I don't think poetic novel is new. Novel is newer than poetic novels or poetic kind of just poetry. So because there has been so many large kind of poetry pieces which tell a story, including Ulysses and other such.
So to the first question, yes, they're like, if you want to make a full sense out of the fractions I've read, you have to read the whole book. And it's just like the classical drama, how it's written, right? You have the beginning, and then you go into the climax, and then you have a helper, the person changes, and then you get to the end, and it's totally the protagonist. So, but the sections are connected to each other, but there also can be as fragments. So that's one point of going right next into the poetic one. That's kind of also an essence of why it's more poetic than just a novel. And I think nowadays I don't know any books that are written as a poetic novel, but for example in Pessoa is a writer from Portugal, and he also has like this book which is the whatever of disquiet, and it's very poetic sections. They all kind of go together, but even in the sections you kind of lose yourself a little because it's not like a classical novel. And the next thing, autobiographical, it's not. So my mom never left me, thank God. I love my parents, they're still with me, they're also still together, and my mom is like the best woman in the world, so sometimes I really feel bad when I read the book and people think like, is she actually writing about her own mom? But I'm not. So, but to that, everything you write is always kind of autobiographical. It's auto-fiction. I think we're running out of time.
Thank you all for listening to us. But before I close, culturally, we all come together, even with nursery rhymes. For example, as a child, I learned, rain, rain, go away, come again another day. But in Marathi, it was yere yere pausa. So it was a different world, a different thought process that came together. I think poetry or any kind of art, music, art, any kind of thing brings you on the same platform. Thank you so much. I will take your question outside.